Welcome back, guys, to episode 9 of the Cousin
Connection
Podcast. It probably sound nicer to you because I don't have my headphones on today, but
I know.
So if you hear me sniffling, it's because
Amir is stubborn and doesn't want to take allergy medicine.
Hey, I'm just trying to make myself tougher out here. I feel like I'll build an independence on that drug.
No,
for allergies.
No one will fear you if you're just like, hey, yo, man, stop. If you have to sniffle between
I don't have to
right?
say anything. The muscles will give it. I'm playing.
Wow.
I'm playing. 1 second. We're super loud on here. Let me turn this down. Okay. I'm turning it down.
It's good.
Anything, I'll fix it in post. It's all good.
All right.
Okay. So, like I said, this is the episode 9 of the Cousin Connection podcast. Last week, or technically a couple of days ago, we released the part 2 to our relationship podcast series.
Yes.
How many parts are? You know what? We'll keep that a secret. We don't know.
We ain't gonna tell them.
Exactly.
We ain't gonna tell them. We gotta keep them guessing. Okay. This could have been the last one. Last part of our series, but you never know.
So, you guys seem to really like it, so it might just make it go on forever. You never know. This might turn into a relationship podcast.
Yeah, I doubt it.
Yeah, but you'll know that today's topics are something that I brought up because I always try to bring down the mood, with some real topics about stuff that are going. I'm playing.
First of all, you agreed to the relationship ones.
I'm playing. Okay.
Mm-hmm. No, but this topic.
Yeah,
is
the topic is very important, and it kind of relates back to a couple episodes when we were talking about the what was going on in Palestine.
Yep.
With the occupation and everything, and there was some small thing, like I mentioned earlier, I'm a very introspective person. I think maybe in the first podcast I mentioned something like that, and I like overthink things, or not overthink things, but I like to think about things that I've said in the past. And with a podcast, you say a lot of things, so I start to think about those things that I said in the last podcast.
Yeah.
In the latest podcast, and one of them was like, there was a part where you brought up, why don't celebrities talk about these kind of things.
I remember that.
And I think I sort of touched on it where I mentioned some people just don't care. And we said that that's not good. This is something that's clearly that's wrong that's happening. People should be speaking about it. But then I watched a video recently, which I'm actually going to play a clip of right now, where there was a gentleman on there. It's two guys. They kind of just it's one of those YouTubers where it's two guys. Mm-hmm. They talk about a certain topic. It's just them and their face. Maybe they'll throw up some pictures here and there. Mm-hmm. But one of the guys, the group is called, the two guys are called Abba and Preach. And they actually made a video that's literally titled, "We're not covering Palestine because we don't want to." And I want to play a clip from this episode.
The reason why we haven't covered Palestine or haven't spoken about Palestine is because I have nothing insightful.
Because we don't care. Because we don't care. I'm just kidding.
I have nothing insightful to say about Palestine. So I don't want to talk about the situation in Israel and Palestine because I have nothing insightful to say. And if I have nothing insightful to say, I'm going to just shut the fuck up. I'm not going to do some random video for views. But since you guys have been harassing us, constantly flooding us, telling us if we don't do it, we're bad people. If we don't blah, 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 this or that. I'm going to say this. Stop looking to celebrities to speak on every political issue you care about. We're not your mouthpiece, 1. And 2, we're not the right people to speak about most of this shit. Neither are most celebrities. They don't know fuck all. You're talking about a dude who never graduated from high school and another guy over here who barely got his college education, okay? And as far as did you?
What do you mean barely? Bro, 2 semesters, not even barely. It's not like I didn't even start.
You barely started.
Barely started. That's better. Okay. Barely finished? Wow, that's a lot of props for nothing.
But I've been getting all this and people were like, well, why wouldn't you educate yourself? Because I don't want to. Well, why wouldn't you want to? You don't care about kids dying? Do you care about kids dying in Myanmar? Do you care about kids dying in Tibet? Do you care about kids dying in Ukraine? Do you care about kids dying in Hong Kong? Do you care about kids dying in Venezuela, Colombia, Ethiopia? I didn't cover any of those. But most of y'all had nothing to say for a lot of those issues, right? But when it's something that touches you or you're close to, if I don't speak about it, I'm a trash person. If you feel powerless because of this issue, that's not me to bear the brunt of your powerlessness. It's not on me to bear the brunt of your feeling of inadequacy. You lashing out at me is unproductive.
It's not going to solve the issue.
You know, what else is unproductive? Me trying to speak on something I have no knowledge about and have very little interest in. Oh, maybe this is not PC enough. Are there kids dying? It's like, I'm not interested in talking about it. And guess what? Every human being has to pick their battles. And this is yours. And if it's yours, great. If you want to be invested, great. Go ahead. But don't come at me just because I haven't said something and try to infer something about my character. I don't go to everyone who didn't post BLM and be like, you're trash, you're this, you're that. I don't go to everyone who didn't support what was going on within Ethiopia right now and go, you're this, you're that. But then you think you can come and talk about someone else's character because they didn't talk about something that touches you.
Okay, so
wow.
I don't know if I'll fix it in post, but you probably heard just a clip that I got from that video. And before I say anything, what are your thoughts on what he said?
I hate to admit it because I fully questioned this in that other podcast, but he's right. Like when he put it in that way.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, if someone doesn't care about a topic, they don't care. You can't force someone to care.
Exactly.
And
we saw an example of what I personally think this is what happened. I think like we mentioned Rihanna on that episode, right? So
yes.
Maybe she didn't care about the topic at like we're saying it bluntly. Maybe she didn't care as much, but she saw all that pressure,
right?
And because of all that pressure, she felt like she just had to put something out there. And of course, we said maybe she should have been better educated, but like she had, when you feel pressure, sometimes you do things just to kind of relieve it and shut people up.
Yep.
But that just causes more issues over time, and then it's like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
I mean, I think ultimately the real issue at hand is that us laymen or like, you know, regular people, because with the social media world that we're in, influencers, celebrities, they have such a big pull. They have such a big influence. Like they could literally sell water to a fish.
Yeah.
Some of them, not all of them, some of them. And so we gave them this power to be so influential that when there are issues that we are passionate about, we expect them to speak on it.
But that should not be the case.
And it's not every issue. Because imagine if you were to sit there and think about every single issue in this world, you'd be talking about it 365 days because there are problems everywhere.
Yeah.
This is not to minimize the struggle that everyone is going through in their own right. Your struggle is your struggle.
Yeah.
But like that guy said, pick and choose your battles.
Exactly.
You're literally going to go insane if you try to be passionate and be a world savior because you just can't.
So I think the ultimate thing, like for me, is like we have the things that we're passionate about and the things that we want to speak about that are going on in the world, like the millions of things that are going on in the world, almost literally. But we shouldn't be condemning others for not speaking about it just because they have such a large platform.
But at the same time, like when we think about I know this episode isn't specifically about Palestine, but when you think about that, people were pushing that social media presence of this topic or even BLM.
So I wanted to get to that as well.
Because they were looking to global leaders to help with the human rights issue, the war crimes that were taking place. So they're trying to put pressure on, like, the more, like, you know, when something gains a lot of social media attention, that's when the news picks it up.
So why do you think this specific thing that was going on, I always want to use the word conflict, but get away from that. So this ethnic cleansing that's currently, this genocide that's currently going on in Palestine, why do you think this picked up so much steam compared to something like that was almost equivalent to like the Uyghur issue, the Uyghur Chinese Muslims in China? Why do you think people cared? Because it did pick up, that did like have,
it had a little
bit
bit
its 15 minutes of fame, quote unquote 15 minutes of fame on the world stage of like a current conflict that's going on, and then it kind of just died out. So but why do you think this Palestine issue is so it has such long legs? Because usually on the internet it has such a short memory span that there's a conflict one week and then there's a new conflict the next.
Something else will take up its space.
But I still see people continuously posting about the Palestine issue, which is good, of course, which is very good. Yeah. But why do you think this specific thing has picked up so much steam compared to the other things that have died out over time?
I think the Palestine topic didn't just gain attention from Palestinians.
Mm-hmm.
It's all Arabs. It's all Muslims.
Yeah. And
It's
do you
not-
think, I'm going
Oh.
to ask you a question, do you think that this would have become such a large or spread so quickly if Al-Aqsa was not part of the equation? Do you think that people would care? Because this conflict or this ethnic cleansing has been going on since 1948.
Yeah.
I think it was 2014. There was a similar thing where
Exactly.
hundreds of people were killed.
Yeah. Thousands,
But
not even hundreds. Thousands.
I didn't know. I didn't hear as much
That was
about
the
it at the
first
time.
time that I was truly paying attention to. I'm not gonna lie.
Mhm.
That was when I first heard about it. But that's
Yeah.
because the people that I'm friends with,
Yeah, you have to know someone. Really
yeah, they
who's
were
kind
like,
of
"Do you
involved
not know
in
what's
it.
going on?" And I was
Yeah.
like, "No."
Yeah,
And so I was like, "Let me do some research." And I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, wow, this has been going on for some time. Why is no
Mhm.
one talking about it?"
yeah,
I think it's the combination of, first of all,
mm-hmm.
what's going on is very heartbreaking. It's very sad,
yeah,
and we pray for their justice.
mm-hmm.
May Allah grant them justice is
Exactly.
what we can say.
Yeah,
That being said, I think the fact that it was in Ramadan,
mm-hmm.
the fact that they were bombing people that were praying in the mosque,
yeah,
the third holiest site in Islam,
Mhm.
it's like, I almost feel like they knew what they were doing.
yeah. So I think I'm on the same page as you there, where it's a combination of a lot of things. It's also
Yeah.
a combination of the rise of TikTok, because
Yeah.
I feel like TikTok had a big part of it. Since even though it was being suppressed a lot, once you're kind of in that realm of like where it's feeding you these things about Palestine, it's like
Yeah.
it spreads a lot quick within those community of people who are aware of the issue. And also, of course, because of the fact that it's almost symbolic what they did, where they attacked during the most holiest days of Ramadan, and also including Al-Aqsa. Because I feel like if that was not part of the equation,
Yeah.
then this would have just blown over like any other conflict that would have went. Even though there, like, people would not. I know. I just feel that way. Okay, say your part. Say your part.
No. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. But I also think it's the rise of TikTok and the fact
Mhm.
that when they were trying to push out the people who lived in that neighborhood in Sheikh.
Sheikh Jarrah.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
they lived in that area and they were trying to push them out. I believe their names are Muhammad and Munna
Yeah.
al-Kurd or something like that. They had such a big social media presence, like
Mhm.
Subhi Taha, another
Mhm.
influencer. Like, they really put it out for what it really is. There was
Mhm.
no media filter. There was no news filter. There
Mhm.
was no one who was like in a monotone voice explaining what happened. It was like, no, look, this is our daily life. This
Mhm.
is what's actually happening. There's no filter to this.
Yeah.
And so once you post that online, one person sees it, 100 people see it, 1,000 people see it, millions start to see it, and
Yeah.
they're like, oh my God, what's happening? And that's not right. They can't be kicked out of their neighborhood.
Mhm.
And then from there, it just snowballed. And then because they now had all of this social media attention,
Mhm.
the Israeli soldiers I felt like it was just adding more fuel to the fire by attacking people, innocent people in
Yeah.
Ramadan, attacking Masjid al-Aqsa. It's like that added to it.
Mhm.
And it's no longer just a Palestinian issue. This is a human rights issue.
Mhm.
And I know they were saying it's not a problem against Muslims. Like, non-Muslims were also
Mhm.
supporting.
But I feel like if maybe it's a controversial thing to say, I would say like if a majority of those Palestinians weren't Muslim, I don't think that there would have been that much of a push as well.
Not from Muslims.
Because
anyway.
it's human. It's human to only really want to pay attention to things that affect the communities that you're a part of.
Of course.
Right?
Of course. I
Yeah.
get that. And it's sad because the Uyghur Muslims,
Mhm.
they're Muslim too.
Yeah,
And if you see what they're going through,
exactly. It's
Mm.
almost it's more sinister
yeah,
what's
Yeah.
going on there.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not so blatant where
they're being tortured.
literally tortured and being also having their religion stripped from them and getting them they're making them do things that they know Muslims are forbidden from doing.
But see,
which
the
is more
difference,
sinister
the
and-
difference
yeah.
is like in China, their government is so strict,
Mm-hmm.
like, and so tight-lipped. Like, you're lucky if you like those clips that we did get to see.
Yeah.
We got lucky to even see that.
Yeah. So I think that can really show the power of social media these days, right? Like, I think over time, maybe this is just also the fact that everyone was home for COVID and stuff. They had more
Yeah.
time to kind of dedicate
consume
to
all of this.
consume all of this information.
Mm.
So it was almost like the perfect recipe for this to kind of pop off in a way that it did.
Yeah.
But I had another question. So something he was mentioning there. So I don't know if people can't see, but Abba is actually Ethiopian himself.
Oh, no wonder. I was like surprised that he was mentioning. I was like, wow, I'm not an Ethiopian person.
Yeah,
Like,
and I wanted to actually bring up that issue. So we were talking about how we're related to this topic because we're Muslim, or we connect to this issue or this thing that's going on more because we're Muslim,
right?
And I feel like that was like a large part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of the fact that, of course, children are dying and people are being killed. So why do you think that when it comes to our own people, we don't show much attention about it? Because right now, there's actually two things going on in Ethiopia. There's one that's been happening for some time now in our own city of Harar, and then now there's a major conflict in the Tigray region of Ethiopia.
Right.
And I've maybe seen one or two posts about it here and there.
Yeah.
And I'm part of the problem too, because normally on social media, I don't really post a lot of stuff whenever something's going on. I just see other people who are posting it and I consume it in that way.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm part of the problem there. It's just because I don't use social media like that to begin with.
Right.
But I guess maybe we should bring attention to this issue first by explaining what's going on. So I actually knew about this issue that's been going on in Ethiopia from about 6 months ago. I'm subscribed to Al Jazeera, of course, me, the nerd who really loves just consuming information. And they posted a video of what's going on in Ethiopia. And
I saw that one. Is it the one that was they were on the mountains and they were shooting?
No, this is just one lady whose 6-minute video just explaining the general unbiased what's going on in Ethiopia. So if you don't know already, in Ethiopia for the past 30 years or a little less than 30 years, there is the TPLF. They kind of ran the country, and they're a Tigray party, but the Tigrays are actually an ethnic minority within Ethiopia. They only account for about 6% of the population, and they have a region in Ethiopia that's in the north that is between Ethiopia and Eritrea. It's still part of Ethiopia, but they're where those Tigray people are normally is in that area. And because they were in power for 30 years, it's almost like a dictatorship to a point. And they, of course, like any other government, they were corrupt. They put in a lot of people in prisons, their own political adversaries and all that. They did pretty much the basic, dictatorship.
Dictatorship 101.
101, exactly. Right. And of course, that created a lot of resentment within the people.
Of course.
Protests started popping off. And I think it was 2016, they were able to get the TPLF out of office, and they put in Abiy, who is an Oromo. He's the prime minister of the country. He's part of the Oromo ethnicity, which is actually the majority in the country. I think it's 60%. I actually got that crazy wrong. It was more like 34%. Yeah. So
I didn't know it was that much.
Yeah, it's a large part of the population.
Wow.
And now I think a lot of people like Abiy because he kind of put in a lot of reforms for the country to grow it economically.
Yeah, I feel like he has a modern
he won the Nobel Peace Prize. But of course he also has
his issues.
His own issues
Nobody's
as well.
Perfect.
And he essentially in 2000, I forget which year it was, but he pretty much dismantled the government. How it was originally. They had some confederacy or something with a group of parties. He dismantled it and kind of put them all into one party.
Okay.
Which took a lot of the influence away from the TPLF, who still had a lot of influence at that point. They had a lot of people in higher positions in the country, and they didn't like this at all. TPLF hated this. You
think dictators like change?
Exactly. So, but they weren't in power at the time, but they still had a lot of influence within the country, and they didn't like this. So they tried to actually plan a coup and take over the government. They attacked a government base, which didn't go over well for them, and eventually that started a civil war within the country.
Right.
So now we have pretty much all of Ethiopia against the TPLF, which is now hunkered down within the Tigray region. And like any conflict, the civilians are the ones who take the brunt of the force, or the most
The short end of the stick.
the short end of the stick, exactly.
Mm.
So, and actually, sorry, what popped off here, I missed that one part, is that what really like set off the chain of events afterwards with what's happening right now.
Yeah.
So the country had a vote that was going on, like, a country vote to vote in, I guess, probably prime minister or something like that. Sorry, I should probably know more about that.
Yeah.
But essentially, they postponed it
Mm-hmm.
because they said COVID, with pandemic and everything, they didn't want to kind of have a vote where people would be all coming together.
Right.
But the Tigray region were like, nah, we're going to still have the vote. And you're going to have to like take whatever we get from our votes, essentially.
Yeah.
But they didn't count it. The government didn't count it. And that's when, of course, the conflict started. So there was a lot of fighting within the country or within the Tigray region. And a lot of the civilians in that area were being displaced. And that's essentially what the video was at, where it was talking about like civilians dying. And Eritrea actually got into the conflict as well and was attacking from the other side because
in support of
Ethiopia. They're helping Ethiopia fight off the TPLF.
How strong are the
Tigray
TPLF?
region.
Like, if they're such a small number, how do they
what I believe, I'll maybe get to that, is that a lot of this is kind of a backlash for the past 30 years. Because, in a lot of in Ethiopia, there's a lot of ethnicities and there's a lot of ethnic tension.
Yes.
And I feel that, I'll get to that part, but essentially I feel that a lot of what's happening right now is due to a lot of that resentment for the Tigray people since they had power for so long, even though there was a minority within the country. And a lot of those other ethnicities feel slighted by that one party and are associating that with all the Tigray people.
That's not justifiable. You can't kill innocent.
Exactly, and that's the issue. It's not justifiable, but that's like, it's how people when they get riled up, they don't think logically, right? A lot of times you need to kind of take the humanity away from that person, so they try to associate them with the worst of what a party that used to represent them stood for. And that's how they justify a lot of their actions.
Do you think they resent them? Because usually when you come from a place of privilege, you're not going to be one to speak up and be like, oh, that's not fair. How come I'm getting all of the favor?
Well, that's probably where a lot of the resentment comes from, right? Because I'm sure there were probably some Tigray people who saw what the government was doing and was not for it. Right. But in the end, when the other ethnicities feel like they have all the power, they don't look into those nuances. They don't check in on. So what were you doing when the party? Were you against them or something? Okay, come on our side. Nah, it's like you're Tigray, you're done, and
so they use that to justify killing
a people. But now it's gotten worse, where it's more sinister. I know I keep saying this word where they're actually raping a lot of the women there.
Yep.
So essentially, like this part of warfare, I don't know how this became part of the warfare culture. Like it's always been a part of the culture where people like ransack and rape the women and stuff. But now it's like people are literally. There was a story I was watching a video today where a lady was like literally walking back from work. She was like a waitress at a place, and two soldiers took her, put her in a house, held her there for 4 days, and raped her every single day. And then when one day one of them stepped out, opened the door, she saw her chance to escape. She ran, and they shot her in the stomach. Yeah, and then they saw she was bleeding. Like they didn't know she was shot, and then they saw she was bleeding. So he's like, okay, he told his friend just to pick her up and throw her in the street.
No.
Yeah. So it's getting that bad. And
actually, I saw a really, and trigger warning, like the types of practices. It's so inhumane and so cruel. But it's the same thing that's happening to the Uyghur Muslims. For some reason, like I think when soldiers rape someone, it's almost like they're showing their power.
I feel like a lot of the reasons they're doing those things, those horrible acts, are because of what I mentioned earlier with the resentment against those people. Because they feel like the worst thing they think of the worst thing they can do to these people, and they do it because they feel like this is for the hundreds of years, or in this case like the 30 years, maybe even earlier conflicts going between the ethnicities. Yeah, this is like our payback in a way.
But like, so is it the TPLF soldiers that are doing this, or is it the Ethiopian soldiers that are doing this?
No, this is the Ethiopian and Eritrean soldiers that are doing this
to the Tigray innocent people.
Yeah, to the Tigray women. Yeah, and they're just killing the men, of course, and just.
I saw another video. So here's the thing, like, whenever I hear about some sort of like issue,
Mm-hmm.
before I speak on it, I have to like do my research because
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I don't know, right?
Yeah.
But I also have this like weird thing in my personality where I
Mm-hmm.
you just go down a dark rabbit hole and you're just
Yeah.
watching video after video after video, and that's what happens. So
Mm-hmm.
I was watching so many videos in a row,
Mm-hmm.
and this one was, it was like I think it was that channel AJ Plus or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
A Plus or whatever it's called. This video was like an ex-soldier. I can't remember what they're called. You know, the ones that like flee. What did they call them again? Whistleblower.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He recorded this
Mm-hmm.
video where the soldiers had a bunch of innocent Tigray men, the
Mhm.
Ethiopian soldiers and Eritrean soldiers. They had a bunch of innocent men,
Mm-hmm.
and they like lined them up execution style,
Mm-hmm.
and they were literally just shooting them and then just rolling their bodies down the
Mhm.
like mountain.
Yeah, and of course this is another atrocity, and I think it's to kind of bring it full circle, or like with a big idea here, is like these are horrible acts that are going on within our own country. Why do you think that it's not something that we are championing as much as what is going on in other countries, that the only relation you have, even though it is a big relation, is prior religion with the people there? And even then, people try to separate. There's like, oh, we're not doing this because of the religion. We're doing this because of people being unfairly slaughtered for whatever reason. But the same thing is happening with our own country. Is it because it's a lot more, not dirty, but like it's a lot more messy of what's going on? It's like, oh, we're dealing with like a party that's tried to create a coup. But in the end, the civilians are the ones who are being affected by this.
No, because I feel like wrong is wrong no matter what.
Yeah.
And this...
Why didn't we pick this battle? That's what I'm trying to say.
It's about to get controversial.
Yeah.
We don't want to get canceled, but at the same time, our opinion is our opinion. So I'm just giving that disclaimer. If you don't want to listen to it, you can skip over this part. One thought that comes to mind is the... I don't know how to word it, but like the fact that sometimes there's racism and sometimes certain lives, quote unquote, not necessarily matter more than others, but certain issues get more attention. Like if you were to see an Arab kid get shot on a camera, like someone's recording it, and it's, in an Arab country and they get shot, oh my goodness, it's going to be posted all over. If you saw a little Ethiopian kid and they get shot, it's the exact same situation. The only difference is where they're from. Yeah. It probably won't get as much attention online.
I don't think that's racism though. I think it's because of
systemic racism, maybe. Okay,
maybe this is where we're probably going to disagree, is because I don't think a lot of those issues are because of racism. I think it's because you can, when an Arab person sees another Arab person getting shot, they can see their brother, they can see their sister, they can see their mother, their father, whoever. But when they see an Ethiopian kid getting shot, they have no relation there. They have nothing to go off of. They just see even though it's still a human being, it's in our nature to react more to things that we can relate to more, right?
Okay, but like look at me and you, for example.
Yeah.
I can honestly sit here and tell you I've posted more about Palestine than I did about the Ethiopia Tigray war.
So that's why I'm saying, why don't we champion those things? Why don't we not champion, sorry. Why don't we speak about those issues more? Like, here, let's go even closer to home. Okay?
Okay,
let's go to Harar. So another byproduct of the fact that Abiy got into office, and a reason why he shouldn't be championed as much as he is because when he won, the Oromos thought of that as a way of, it almost gave them
enabled them like this weird power, it enabled them, and this confidence to like
to feel like they could do whatever they want and to start taking more chances. And one of the chances they took is on our own city of Harar, where we're from. They tried to claim it as their own territory. And granted, there are a lot of Oromos in that area. And people try to go back into history and say blah, blah, this and that. But we are the indigenous people of that location. But they're trying to rewrite history in a way because now they feel like they'll have the support of their own like the government.
Right.
And even if the government doesn't come in and blatantly say anything about it, their silence is almost like them enabling them to continue that. And I feel like you can kind of relate this to what happened with Trump. When Trump got in office, the racists felt like that enabled them to act out more, right? Just for whoever's listening to this, who like maybe so you can relate it more to something more locally to you. It's almost like a similar situation, and maybe you can even relate the Harar-ish situation to what's going on in Palestine. I know it's very different in the amount of people that are dying,
of course,
but we're dealing with an indigenous people. We're just looking
for like similarities, or not.
Yeah, we're trying to look for similarities here.
Yeah,
we're dealing with, just so people can kind of relate to it.
Yeah,
like we're dealing with an indigenous people, the Harari people, who are now being displaced from their own homes. And
literally.
New settlers or people are coming in and claiming it to be their own homes and almost rewriting history to say that this was their homes to begin with. Do you see how much that's connected?
Yeah.
Yet when this was occurring in its heat of like maybe 2 years ago.
It was like 2 or 3 years ago, I think. Yeah.
You know, we had like some conventions, that kind of thing. We were talking about it.
Yeah.
Saying how horrible this is. And then it was kind of quiet. There was maybe a few posts about it here and there. And this is happening in our own home.
I know.
So, you know, and I'm part of the problem too. You know,
but you know what I think?
I was actually one of the speakers. I was speaking out about it a lot. I was on the stages.
You were.
But I feel like totally I always could have done more.
But you know what though? Okay. Let's steer away from the racism comment that I made. It was just something that I suggested just to see, like, you know, what your thoughts were.
Yeah.
When it comes to Palestine, we all know Israel has such a
influence.
They have such an influence, and they have a lot of power because they're friends with powerful people.
Yeah.
Who the F cares about Harar?
Yeah.
Like, I'm just gonna be transparent.
Yeah.
Like, except for Harari people who really, you know what I mean? Like, and it's sad, but that's just the reality. Like, the more power a country has, the more eyes are on it, the more people will actually start to pay attention. There are so many similarities how you just explain, like, the displacement of people from their homes. And, you know, this is not Amir and I saying that all Oromo people are bad, just like how all people from Israel are not all bad, and just like how all Tigray people are not all bad. Like, we know that. That's
because I did generalize a lot, but I'm not talking about all Oromo people.
Of course, and I feel like, you know, just to clarify, because I know people like to be annoying. So now I save myself, and Amir, try coming for us, okay? I'm just kidding. But it's still like, I think it comes down to the power that country or the city or whatever has. And it's so interesting that you said that when Abiy came into power, you know, his supporters and the extremists within the Oromo ethnicity felt like okay, our government, our prime minister is Oromo, we can do whatever we want.
They feel like it'll be turned more of a blind eye to what they're doing because.
But if he did, that's wrong.
Yeah.
If he really, like. And I don't, and this is my fault for not really looking into it, but I don't really recall him really openly denouncing what they were doing. Was he condemning it in any way? Or did he just kind of stay silent and say, like, peace and love? You know, how do you win a Nobel Peace Prize when you can't even have peace in your own damn country? Please tell me. How? How is that possible?
Yeah.
Like, make it make sense.
No, the Nobel Peace Prize has always been, like, more of a political move than anything. It's never really meant to. They gave the Nobel Peace Prize, I think, to, like, Obama. And
really,
yeah. So I think so. Wait, let me just make sure. 1 second. Let me Google this real quick.
He might have gotten it. I don't know. Maybe, but like, just, you know, it's literally in the title of the award, Nobel Peace Prize. How does someone, like, I just don't understand.
Yeah, he won in 2009, literally a year after he started. How does that even happen? It's all on promises, false promises. But I think the most frustrating thing, the reason I brought that up, is like, it's not only the fact that okay, maybe it is, people can feel like, oh, it's futile, right? It's like such a small community that's being affected by this, and there's so much other things going on in the world. It's like, okay, granted, let's say that, but there are still people within our own community who don't even know what's going on.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say they don't care, but like, when you hear about these kind of things, you feel like you should probably look into them more, right?
But you know what, Amir? think about it in this sense.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go on Instagram now,
Mm-hmm.
unless you follow nobody, but like
Yeah.
you cannot go on Instagram and not see something about Palestine.
Yeah.
You can go on Instagram
Mm-hmm.
and never see a single thing about Ethiopia.
Yeah. No, I'm not talking in the general sense. Okay, I
Mm.
understand in the general sense.
Yeah.
That, okay, like he mentioned earlier in that video that I mentioned or that I played, you know, choose your battles and everything. And
Right.
if other people don't speak about it and they don't care, it's like, that's fine. You know, you have your
No, I
thing. Everybody
know.
has their own thing. But at least I feel like if you're part of that community in a way,
You feel like
maybe
there should be
we're
like some sort of responsibility to keep
or at
up?
least everyone should be take the responsibility to kind of educate themselves on it. At least educate yourself on it. That's the minimum.
But you know, sometimes there are people who are just not into politics.
But this is not politics.
No, I know, but I'm saying like
Well,
for-
sort of, but like
it is, but it isn't.
when people are dying, at that
Yeah.
point, it
I know,
no longer
it's-
becomes politics to me.
Yeah, no, I know. I
Yeah.
get what you're saying, but it's like if they're already not watching for it,
Mm-hmm.
unless someone else tells them, they're not going to be looking for this information. They're not just going to search up
Mhm.
like, I wonder what Ethiopia is up to. Let me just search it up on Google.
Yeah, yeah, and
Like you have to either have caught it in the news or
Mhm.
saw it online, like, and it has to spark your interest. Like
yeah,
it's tough.
Mhm.
And you also don't want to make people feel like they now have to keep up with world issues, because it also takes a toll on all this negative information that you're consuming back to back to back. Like it's going to take a toll on you too.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
it's like information overload, trauma fatigue, I think is what we called it last 2 weeks
yeah,
ago.
yeah.
So I don't even know if there's even a solution.
Well, no, I'm not looking for a solution. I think the ultimate thing is I'm speaking right now. I'm speaking to, I guess the East Africans who are probably closer related to this, and also for the people who are not East African or some from other in the world. At least now they're aware of the issue. If they've heard this,
Yeah.
they're aware of what's going on in there. And then if,
Sometimes, you know, though, like sometimes people just don't comment on it because like they don't know what to do. Like, what do we do to make the situation better? Do we donate? Do we
yeah,
put pressure on, you know, government officials? Do we, you know, like if you don't know what to do, you're kind of just like, you read it and you're like, oh, that's very sad and disheartening. Like,
yeah.
but okay. And then you just go about your day.
Mm-hmm. Okay, then at least I hope that people are educated on what's going on there, and that like it's at least something that's on people's mind. And if it does get worse, because I feel like everybody's eyes in the world are on Ethiopia right now, because since Abiy got in, like he's been really pushing to kind of get make Ethiopia like the cultural center of Africa in a way. Africa, of course, has a lot of countries, but a lot of people are looking at Ethiopia because they're really working on developing it both economically and industrially and like structurally. Does that make sense? Structurally, yeah, they're really building up the city, and there's a lot of eyes on it right now. So seeing how they react to this situation will really kind of.
I noticed he's been working hard on building those relationships with other global leaders.
Yeah.
But it's like there's a saying in our language in Gaysinan, where I'm going to just translate it because I'm not going to butcher it and then get made fun of. But it's basically, you know, don't clean the outside of your house before you clean the inside.
Exactly.
And I feel like that's what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's trying to do. You know what I mean? Like you're not even focusing on the alleged peace and harmony that you're preaching.
Yeah.
Within your own country that you run,
but
instead you're looking to strengthen your relationships outside to build the overall, like, I guess, infrastructure and the economy and like make a better Ethiopia. But it's like, how are you going to do that when your people are dying and they're suffering and there's no peace?
Yeah.
No one feels safe. Like it just, it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, you always have to. Well, every country has problems. Like, look at America.
America's
look
the
at
ghetto.
Even Canada. Oh, we didn't even mention what happened in Canada recently. Sorry, I know I'm gonna be a tragic episode.
All over the place. Yeah.
And I don't know if I'm gonna finish off on this, but recently there was a terrorist attack. We're gonna call it a terrorist attack.
It is a terrorist attack.
Yeah, within London, Ontario, which is a couple hours away from Toronto, where a family was actually run over by some maniac.
A terrorist
who literally he drove his car right into the family who were just walking on the sidewalk, and he killed 4 of the 5 members of the family: a mom, a dad, the grandma, and a daughter. Alhamdulillah, the son survived, but unfortunately, like, now he survived for he has no family.
He's an orphan.
He's an orphan essentially. And there has been a rise of course, terrorism, or not terrorism, but terrorism, but also like just they have a word for anti-Jewish, which is anti-Semitism.
It's
what is
Islamophobia.
Islamophobia, exactly. And unfortunately, so that was this thing that was frustrating a lot of people, and there was actually another thing I want to talk about where a lot of people, where the government was like really playing around with or delaying on whether they were going to classify it as a terrorist act. And what do you think? Do you think like, so I don't know even the details of this, like,
well, what do you classify? What do you classify as a terrorist attack?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm just going to Google what's the definition of a terrorist attack, because in my opinion, and this may be very ignorant, but a terrorist attack is someone causing terror.
Yeah.
Running over
and
anyone
really,
is
I think
a terrorist attack.
We should really shout out, I think, Jasmeet Singh, who's the NDP leader. Jagmeet Singh, sorry. Because he was, off the bat, he was like, this is a terrorist attack. Like, I think he was like crying on television, just, consoling the family. I know, but they got like, 6% of the vote or something? They didn't get much of the vote. So people really got to vote with their, not wallets, well, I would say wallets. They got to really step out and actually get him into the office, because he's really been fighting for not only Muslim people, but for indigenous people, which is another thing. So I feel like people are saying cancel Canada Day for this year, which is on July 1st.
Yeah, we should, but like,
because of what happened both with his family. What? Sorry?
I said I'd still want the day off, but yes, the Canada Day is just, honestly, Canada is a land of racism.
Yeah.
It's not the land of the free.
It's not as overt or in your face as it is in America.
No, it's very passive.
Yeah, but it is there, and it's almost buried, like the 215 million, not million, sorry, 215 children were found buried in a grave, or like unmarked graves behind a residential school. So BC, if you don't know, in Canada, they used to have residential schools where essentially they would take indigenous children from their homes and put them into these schools to... It
was sort of like ethnic cleansing.
Yeah, it wasn't ethnic. They were kind of trying to teach and even beat the Indian, or not Indian, what do you call it? What would you... Aboriginal or native out of them by basically making them Catholic and
changing their names, dress.
Not letting them speak their language. And
I watched a documentary on that.
Oh, you watched the documentary? Yeah. I actually read a book called, what was it called? The Inconvenient Indian, which actually goes through the whole history of the natives, both in America and Canada. And, well, really not the whole history, but it goes through the history of their relationship with the people who came in, the settlers who came in, and how eventually their land was taken away, and how they were tricked, and how they're pushed away, and the different tactics that were used.
Do you notice a common theme here?
What?
Settlers always be trying to take everybody's land. Like, just... Okay, that's hella racist. I was going to be like, just go back to where you came from. But, like, literally go back to where you came from.
But to a point, this is almost like... This is just history repeating itself, right? This has happened at all times. But we were going into terrorism, sorry. And then I went into the indigenous people there. Yeah. But essentially, all around right now in Canada is not really a good vibe, because a lot of our dirty laundry, or a lot of Canada's dirty laundry, I don't want to put myself in that,
Yeah, we are not.
Is being exposed. And it's almost like it's all coming at once, both with the Islamophobia. There was some anti-Semitism. There was some...
just racist.
I really need to learn all these terms.
You could just say they're just racist.
Yeah, just general racism that's been going on with the country.
I'm looking for the definition, by the way.
Okay, there you go. You can find it. But there was a second part of it that I actually wanted to talk about. Shoot, I'm completely blanking on it. I had it in my head. Give me like 30 seconds. I'll be back.
Okay, let me just read you this quote from an article from opencanada.org. It says, Canadian terrorism legislation covers a wide range of activity. A terrorism charge in Canada requires far less than setting off a bomb. why is it that ever since 9/11, people equate setting off a bomb to terrorism, but there's so much more that you can do to literally be a terrorist. You don't have to set off a bomb to be classified as a terrorist.
Yeah. Well, I think it's because it all comes down to, I don't know if it's racism, but like
it's the Islamophobic propaganda from the US.
Exactly. Terrorism has been so tied to with Islam, which is completely goes against the Islam ideals. But of
this
course,
is all Bush's fault, I'm telling you.
Well, yeah, you know,
we're just gonna blame him. He's the number one terrorist, really, if you think about it. But
yeah, like we can go into that whole history and the conspiracies and all the stuff that was going on in the early 2000s when they first invaded. But
I saw this one TikTok. I'm gonna send it to you. Yeah, she made some really interesting points about Bush doing 9/11 and why, and she was saying like, and she's not even. Oh my God,
that's a whole other topic.
I know, but she's not Muslim, and she was a white woman who said this, and I was like, whoa, like you never see that. I need to find it, and I'm gonna send it to you because the points that she made, it was very. We
can go deeper into that, but I don't think Bush.
Maybe you don't think he did it.
I believe it's a natural reaction to decades of
the turmoil between like what they were doing
and destroying a homeland to the people who lived in the Middle East, destroying the.
It was all for oil. You know that, right? It was all for oil. And I
feel like it's only natural that there was this is very controversial. It's only natural that there was a retaliation for that.
Okay, don't worry. We'll have an episode where we talk about conspiracy theories, and I will prove to you that Bush did 9/11.
Okay, we'll come back to that then. Right. I literally can't remember that last point. I don't want to end the podcast without even remembering that one point. I'm just gonna wait here. We're gonna sit here
in silence
until I remember that point. For you guys, it'll be like right after this, unless I don't remember, and then we just end the podcast.
Wait, what was it about though?
I literally can't remember right now. It was like something related to the Islamophobia with four people getting killed.
You asked me, like why, like the media stalling or taking a couple, or the government stalling to classify it as terrorism.
Yes. Thank you, Sara. You're just welcome. Reminded me. Okay, so there was something else that was kind of going on when that whole issue came up. So the media was not putting up the picture of the guy who did the attack.
Yes. I was wondering why they were hiding his identity.
Yeah, and I'm on the side where I don't want the guy's picture out there.
Oh, you don't want to make him famous.
Put the pictures out of the family. Let's remember the family. Because the reason a lot of these terrorists do this is for notoriety. They want to get their name out there. They want the people that they were speaking to in their little chat rooms, the racists they were talking to, that they told they were going to do this ahead of time, which I'm sure they're probably going to find. They were told them, okay, watch me. I'm going to be on TV for doing this and that. But if you don't put them out there and you don't give them that, hopefully it incentivizes the next guy to be like, okay, I'm not going to get the fame. I'm not going to become a martyr for my cause. So I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to have the drive to do this. Because a lot of the times...
That's such a psychological issue, though, I feel like.
Well, yeah, but it's shown to be a reason that a lot of these terrorist attacks happen. Like, look at the guy who committed the terrorist attack in Christchurch, in New Zealand. He literally streamed himself doing it.
Like a Call of Duty game in real life.
Yeah, and he was shouting out the groups that he was part of and everything, and he did it all clearly for notoriety. He did it because he wanted to become famous, even if he knew that he might die in the end of it. As long as he went out in a blaze of glory and became a martyr for his cause, he didn't care. So I feel like putting the names out there of these people who are committing these terrorist acts and mass murders and shootings only incentivizes the next guy to do it even more.
But they also want to hold that person accountable, don't you think? That's why they...
Yeah, and unfortunately, what kind of led to that is like they started showing pictures of the guy going fishing and stuff afterwards. Apparently,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't watch the news like that. I haven't seen his picture.
They found photos of him online.
Yeah,
and they weren't like, you know how they always
they're
say
saying like release the mugshot.
Yeah, like we don't want to see pictures of you fishing. I want to see you looking miserable. Even though I heard that he was smiling or whatever when he got arrested, but he's sick freak or whatever.
Yeah. So ultimately, I don't think you should ever put out the photo of someone who committed a terrorist attack, because a lot of times the reason they did it, and it might be clear, it might be unclear, is because they wanted that notoriety from it. But
you know what? maybe you should cut this part out, but I'm just gonna tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it better that, like, because prisoners get to watch the news, so they know, like, sometimes they'll know what you did, right? Like, they'll know what, like, someone's coming in, whatever. Maybe this is just TV. I don't know what it's like to be in prison.
Oh, so you're saying maybe with his face and name being out there,
they'll know, and then they can teach him a lesson in jail.
Well, the name will give it away because I think we know the guy's name. No,
I didn't pay attention to his name.
Yeah, I don't care who the guy is.
Yeah, I didn't care.
Yeah, he committed a terrorist attack. Just throw him in the deepest hole and forget about him.
I hope he gets tortured in jail.
No, I don't care. But
No, I do.
Huh?
I hope he has the worst.
That's the evil, not the evil side, but that's like the dark side of our nature that I really don't want to feed at all. As long as someone, if someone commits an act, well, like in Islam, I guess the rights would be like the family would have the choice of what happens to the prisoner. But of course, we live in a different country. But like, if they're in jail, they're in jail. I know they get to live out the rest of their lives, and those people they killed don't. But that's what this country uses as their punishment. So let them have it. And, you know, it's almost like when you say, oh, I wish that person is tortured and stuff. It's almost like the saying of an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind.
True.
You can't indulge in your evil natures and stuff.
It's called revenge.
You can't indulge in the feeling of revenge just because this person did an evil act. You know, make them face the law.
But you don't feel like some people deserve it?
And then put them where your justice or your law puts people, which is in jail in this world. But like, you know, in other places they might cut their head off.
He'll get his justice in the hereafter.
But yeah, I think we went on a little long there.
Can I just say though?
Yeah.
Like, I actually am so happy that we did this because I feel like you and I never really get to like talk like this. Like we do. Yeah. But like this is forcing it in the best way, you know? And it's like strengthening our relationship too.
Exactly.
And so I'm trying to end this on a positive note. If you can't.
Got my Seth Rogen knocked out for that one.
Why the hell are you laughing like that?
No, my throat's like gone right now.
Why are you laughing?
That's how I laugh.
That's the real laugh.
Huh?
That was the real laugh. I got
like 3 or 4 laughs in my bank. Okay.
Was that a fake laugh before then?
No, that was my laugh.
Oh, okay, fine. But yeah, so I mean, I'm thankful that we decided to do this, and I think it was both of us going out of our comfort zone. This is a side note; it has nothing to do with our topic for this week. These are just final thoughts. And I think that our chemistry, like the genuineness of our conversation, it shows in when people are listening, you know.
Yeah, hopefully it shows, and hopefully it evolves over time, because I feel like from the first episode to this one, we've gotten a lot better at this thing, you know.
Yeah,
even though I still forget a couple things as much, I don't stammer as much, even though I do a little bit here and there.
I feel like we got pretty good at getting to the point, because remember at first we would just talk about something for like ages.
So but we're still filling out our time here, and hopefully we can evolve this. Maybe we'll get into videos sometime.
Oh my god, imagine if we have a studio.
Yeah, man, we don't even need to like a nice studio or anything.
Yes, we do.
Like we do. Make
a nice studio. We have to.
Okay, we'll build something.
Okay,
so hopefully that was informative for y'all. Hopefully you didn't fall asleep halfway through that.
We have to switch it up this week, you know. We have to keep it real with you guys.
Exactly. But yeah, this has been another episode by the Cousin Connection team. Why am I saying? Okay.
Okay. I'm just going to do the outro. Thank you guys so much for listening. My name is Sara.
My name's Amir.
And this was the Cousin Connection podcast. Oh, sorry. Why did I say that so fast?
I don't know. Just follow us at Cousin Connection Pod.
Yeah, just follow us on Instagram. It's Cousin Connection Pod.
Bye.